There are questions that humanity has learned to avoid, not for lack of curiosity, but for fear of what might be found when the comfortable fabric of official explanation is torn away. Among them, one stands out for its almost insolent absence of answers. If the Earth truly harbored colossal trees, so gigantic that their trunks rivaled mountains, where did they go? Nature doesn't erase such large footprints so easily, and yet the entire planet seems to have been swept clean of any obvious evidence. The only concrete clue is the very strangeness of the Earth's relief, as if the landscape hid scars that we have tried to normalize for centuries. The unease begins precisely there, when what we call nature seems more like a post-industrial backdrop of something immensely ancient. The idea that the planet's surface was shaped solely by time, wind, and water loses strength when we analyze formations that defy the natural behavior of geological processes. Viewed from space, they appear as artificial structures, with symmetries so perfect that they evoke the precision of global engineering. If the story told in textbooks were complete, such formations should be isolated exceptions, but they are not. In fact, they are scattered across the entire planet, as if someone had systematically carried out a monumental extraction of resources. And faced with this, the most uncomfortable question inevitably arises: what exactly was being extracted? The starting point of this investigation emerges from the Mauritanian desert, home to one of the most intriguing formations on the African continent, the Eye of the Sahara. A circle 50 kilometers in diameter, so perfect and symmetrical that it can only be fully perceived from space. Modern science hesitates between classifying it as erosion or as something not yet understood, avoiding concluding what geometry suggests. No known process produces such defined concentric rings, especially on such a colossal scale. The resemblance to the cross-section of a tree trunk, more specifically to growth rings, is so direct that it seems impossible to ignore. And yet we ignore it. When confronted with this possibility, a new mental map of Earth begins to form. What we call flat-topped mountains, the gigantic geological mesas that rise in Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana, seem less like natural formations and more like vestiges of abrupt cuts, as if the summits had been removed with mechanical precision. Among them, Mount Roraima stands out not only for its imposing size, but also for the strange characteristic of remaining constantly fed by water that springs from its summit without any visible source. There are no glaciers, no lakes, no reservoirs, yet entire rivers cascade from its plateau, as if the massif were connected to something deep and alive beneath the surface. The hypothesis that these structures are giant stumps makes this water unsettlingly symbolic. Could they be remnants of an ancient natural pumping system still functioning by inertia? Examining South American geology gives the sensation of walking among ruins. The so-called tepuis, with their vertical walls and perfectly flat surfaces, seem not to have been shaped by natural erosion, but rather removed like the breasts of an industrial process. The rectilinear forms, the absence of peaks, the impossibly sharp angles, everything points less to nature and more to conscious intervention. If they were the remains of colossal trees, their trunks should have been cut uniformly, leaving broad, straight surfaces, and that is exactly what we observe, repeatedly, in regions separated by thousands of kilometers. The hypothesis gains even more strength when we analyze the Grand Canyon from another perspective. Instead of a valley slowly carved by the Colorado River, as the traditional narrative claims, its appearance strikingly resembles a gigantic open-pit quarry. The uniform width, the abrupt walls, the layers exposed in long horizontal lines, everything aligns more with the logic of extraction than with the action of water rivers produce winding, narrow, irregular valleys. The Grand Canyon, in contrast, presents the kind of regularity that only colossal machines could produce, operating in repetitive cycles of layer removal. Isolated mountains, strategically placed in the center, resemble geological markers used in mining operations to measure depths and volumes extracted. This same extraction logic seems to echo in the presence of precious stones, distributed throughout the Earth's crust in the form of narrow vertical tubes, as if they were crystallized arteries. Conventional narratives attribute such formations to ancient volcanic activity, but the distribution, purity, and organization of these tubes raise doubts. Stones like rubies, emeralds, and diamonds appear in a surprisingly similar way to channels of solidified fluid. The hypothesis that the sap of colossal trees, rich in metals, energy, and rare elements, crystallized under pressure, offers a more coherent explanation than improbable geological processes. In this scenario, the diamond would not be just carbon. It would be the petrified blood of gigantic organisms. The almost ubiquitous presence of quartz in the sand of large deserts adds another piece to the puzzle. If ancient trees were composed mostly of silica, their destruction by industrial processes would have produced a colossal amount of fine, sharp dust, exactly the composition of the sand in the Sahara, the Gobi, and so many other deserts. Marine sand is rounded by the constant movement of waves. Desert sand, on the other hand, is angular and sharp as a result of a recent crushing process. This suggests that the largest sandy expanses on the planet are not natural phenomena, millions of years old, but deposits of industrial waste left by planetary-scale activity. This interpretation transforms the concept of desert into a scar. The Sahara, for example, looks more like a field devastated by colossal machinery than a climatic phenomenon. Its surface presents undulating patterns reminiscent of gigantic dust spills, as if enormous saws had crushed once imposing structures. If we imagine the planet being used as a source of raw material for extraterrestrial constructions, the dunes would be merely the final residue of a massive extraction and grinding process. The hypothesis also sheds light on the mystery of caves. The official theory that they formed slowly through water erosion has limitations in explaining their internal architecture. Ascending tunnels, circular chambers, branching patterns. All of this more closely resembles the root system of a living organism than the unidirectional flow of water. Mammoth Cave in the United States is a prime example. Its 600 kilometers of tunnels are distributed in an almost organic way, with nodes, branches, and curves that evoke the anatomy of a root. When imagining these caves as empty channels of giant tree roots, the structural coherence becomes surprising. The textural patterns observed on the walls of some caves reinforce this hypothesis. Striations reminiscent of plant fibers, undulations that look like compacted bark, and internal formations that resemble solidified resin. Stalactites and stalagmites, normally attributed to the slow accumulation of dissolved minerals, can be reinterpreted as the residual dripping of thick sap that hardened after the death of the main structure. The gigantic size of the crystals found in Mexican caves also suggests exceptional accumulations of highly concentrated substances, something unlikely through purely geological processes. The existence of subterranean cities like Derinkuyu in Turkey could be reinterpreted from this perspective. Instead of human-made structures manually excavated in solid rock, they may be adaptations of pre-existing structures, ancient hollow root canals used as shelter by later human populations. The extraordinarily efficient ventilation of these sites, often considered mysterious, is consistent with channels that once served for the circulation of vital fluids. If we accept that Earth was covered by these colossal trees, an uncomfortable question remains: who removed them, and for what reason? The scale of the operation suggests a technology capable of easily manipulating planetary masses, and the precision of the cuts indicates intent, planning, and clear objectives. Nothing suggests a random action or a natural process. Everything points to a specific need for extraction. Perhaps these organisms were valuable sources of minerals, energy, or essential structures for projects beyond Earth. Perhaps they served as raw material for interstellar-scale constructions, such as megacosmic structures. The historical silence surrounding this possible period should not be surprising. Remains of ancient human civilizations are fragile and rarely survive for more than a few millennia. If such events occurred tens or hundreds of thousands of years ago, any direct human trace would have been erased. What remains are only deep marks on the landscape, abrupt cuts, empty ocean caves, endless deserts, all of which seem to echo a colossal intervention that predates our own memory as a species. Given this perspective, humanity reveals itself not as the heir to an untouched planet, but as a late occupant of an already devastated world, attempting to decipher ruins without knowing they are ruins. What we call nature may only be the later stage of slow recovery. Still scarred by the effects of mining, we do not understand modern geology. in attempting to fit these structures into known natural models, ends up producing partial explanations, incapable of dealing with the observed scale and precision. Looking again at the eye of the Sahara, Mount Roraima, the Grand Canyon, the deserts and the caves, a coherent narrative emerges. All these formations share characteristics that suggest external intervention, massive removal of material, and complete transformation of the Earth's surface. Such a monumental operation would have altered not only the relief but also the very ecological and climatic balance of the planet, redefining its future. Perhaps what we call the primordial forest is merely the secondary vegetation of an Earth that once supported giants of unimaginable proportions. This knowledge, or even the mere possibility of it, changes how we see our place in the world. The planet ceases to be a natural setting and becomes a post-industrial territory of cosmic proportions. An Earth that has been emptied, cut, crushed, and then abandoned. The questions left behind are unsettling. Why did mining stop? Where did they take what they extracted? And most importantly, could they return? While we reflect on this, all that remains is to invite you to delve even deeper into these mysteries. Like the video so it can travel through the algorithm and not get lost like the traces of these colossal trees. Comment on what you believe really happened to the planet. Your opinion may open unexpected paths. Subscribe to the channel to continue investigating what official history prefers to ignore. Share it with someone who is ready to question everything. And if you want to go further, there's always another video waiting, bringing more fragments of a world we may never have understood.